The devil has returned. On December 16th, 2021, I sat in a theater eagerly anticipating Spider-Man No Way Home. I was giddy with excitement over seeing two particular heroes I met in 2002 and 2012 made a hero I loved from 2016. There were also so many villains I look forward to seeing again, but I'd be lying if I said that there was one person in particular whose return got me the most excited because of what it could mean for the future. That person was Charlie Cox reprising his role as Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil. Let me take you back to another day. April 10th, 2015. I woke up an hour earlier than I would for school so I could watch the first episode of Netflix's Daredevil. Daredevil had been a character I'd loved since I was a kid, and this show looked like it was going to get into that Frank Miller, Brian Michael Bendis, Ed Brubaker grit that the character had become synonymous with. I watched the first episode, and I fell in love. Folks, filmmaker Garrett Brioni's The Garrettscape right here on Geekscape. This show was literally everything I wanted and so much more. It was, in no hyperbole when I say this, the show I've been waiting for up to that point. For 3 seasons, this show, it ripped my heart out. It made me cheer and root for a hero that faced obstacle after obstacle, getting beaten down all the way across his hero's journey. So today, I want to look at why this show just works, okay? How it adapts Daredevil to the medium of television, how it brings its own sense of style to Hell's Kitchen, and why it sticks with so many of us today. We'll look at what makes it a show without fear. I think the best way to start is to look at our hero and our villain. The show is defined by the conflict between Cox's Matt Murdock and Vincent D'Onofrio's Wilson Fisk. These two characters are forever tied to each other in every medium, and what works in this one is that initially it's a slow burn to Fisk. Matt and Fisk don't even share any scenes together in person till the 9th episode of season 1, first as Matt, then as Daredevil. The way the show frames the two is what makes their scenes together electric. They're two sides of the same coin. Both men want to save Hell's Kitchen, but they have two very differing perspectives on how they want to do it. Matt wants to rid it of the crime that's overtaken it and let it flourish on its own, whereas Fisk wants to control and regulate that crime and be the kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. Matt's father, Jack Murdock, a boxer in Hell's Kitchen, raised him to put others first and brought him up with love, showing that even an inherently violent man can do good. Fisk's father raised him to believe that only the strongest can survive, and that if you're not on top of the food chain, you do everything in your power to claw your way up there. Even though he's the hero of the show, Matt isn't framed as being a good person. He tortures people for information, he beats thugs mercilessly, and throughout all 3 seasons, he considers taking a life if he can justify it as saving the city. And while Fisk is the bad guy, we see that he does have a soft spot. He has a mother he cares for, and he even protected her from his father's beatings. He falls for Vanessa and does everything to woo her and show that he isn't just a monster. The two men wage war with one another across the 3 seasons of the show. Matt, Karen, and Foggy beat Fisk in the season 1 finale using not only just the law, but Daredevil's fists. And while only sharing 1 scene together in season 2, Matt and Fisk set up the events that will lead to their climactic battle in season 3. Season 3 wraps up Matt and Fisk's conflict that began all the way in season 1. A broken Matt is targeted by a Fisk who not only has an army of criminals and the FBI at his disposal, but the greatest weapon of all, Matt's secret. He completely destroys Matt's life by targeting his friends and tarnishing the Daredevil identity. This all leads to what I believe to be the greatest moment in the entirety of the series. For all of season 3, Matt has said time and time again he wants to kill Fisk, and he's going to do it this time around. In the season 3 finale, Matt and his friends defeat Fisk with the law, and now Daredevil has his hands around Fisk's throat. He can finally end it. And then Fisk, with his arms outstretched and bloody like he's Jesus on the cross, pokes, prods, and tries to goad Matt into finally taking his life.
I will never stop hunting Karen Page or Foggy Nelson. I will tell the world who you really are.
Matt can finally kill the man who has tormented him and threatens to take everything he holds dear. But he doesn't. Matt Murdock isn't a killer. To do so would make him no better than Fisk. He'd just be replacing one killer with another. He would give Fisk the ultimate victory over him. Matt wins because he keeps his soul. He wins because he won't cross that line. Because at the end of the day, he's not the devil. He's a good man.
Come on! Kill me! No! God knows I want you, but you don't get to destroy who I am. You will go back to prison, and you will live the rest of your miserable life in a cage, knowing you'll never have Vanessa. That this city rejected you. It beat you. I beat you.
This show does a great job of making Hell's Kitchen feel like more than just any collection of buildings and warehouses. It feels real while also feeling like it drips straight out of an Alex Maleev or Michael Lark drawn Daredevil issue. The big thing is the lighting. The show uses two very distinct colors to get across its vibes, those being red and yellow. For me, the red has always signified the anger and violence present in the series. Scenes will be caked in red lighting when things are getting intense or people are fighting for their lives. Just look at the hallway sequences from seasons 2 and 3. Yellow, on the other hand, represents hope and stability. We see it a lot when Daredevil is doing something that will help Hell's Kitchen, or even just when characters feel secure in each other's company. For example, the iconic hallway scene in season 1 is lit with yellow as Daredevil is fighting his way to a kidnapped child. The series also uses simple filmmaking techniques to bring Matt's radar sense to life. I know people are hoping that we'd see how Matt perceives the world like how he does in the episode World on Fire every episode, but that wouldn't be feasible from a budgetary standpoint. So, the show uses the simple trick of having Matt in the foreground while putting the world around him out of focus. Matt doesn't have the full, clear picture of what's going on, and neither does the viewer. The sound design puts us directly with Matt as he shifts through the hundreds of sounds around him. Another thing that ties into the style of the show is how it brings the various Daredevil suits to life. The look that has become synonymous with this show is the black suit that Matt pieces together, adapted from Frank Miller and John Romita Jr.'s Daredevil, Man Without Fear. I can't think of any other proto-suit that has become as iconic as the main suit the hero eventually gets. It feels like a costume, but also simple clothing. It works in both seasons 1 and 3 due to both seasons focusing on a Matt that has all the odds stacked against him and he's running around with a cloth mask and no protection. I also like how the show integrates the red suit from the comics. Matt forms this sort of kinship with Melvin Potter, who eventually makes it for him, becomes a symbol he needs to, and slowly becomes more like the classic Daredevil suit from the comics. I especially like all the different in-universe explanations to explain different upgrades and modifications it gets over the course of the seasons. The suit never feels out of place in this world and instead adds to the heightened nature of this wonderfully realized Hell's Kitchen. One of the defining things about this show is how well choreographed, well shot, and well done the action was. It was a spectacle anytime it happened and left us with many different emotions throughout. Whether you're cheering and going, "Oh!" at some of the brutality. The big three action sequences of the series are the hallway fights. The season 1 fight is claustrophobic and you feel Matt's desperation as he works his way to the kid he's trying to save. Season 2's up the scale a bit and has a pissed off Matt making his way through a mess that Frank Castle created. Season 3's is the longest and follows Matt as he claws his way out of a prison under the control of Fisk. All three have their own distinct style, story, and even Matt Murdock outfit. I also want to highlight some other action sequences besides just the hallway fights. The Nobu fight in season 1 gives us our first taste of Matt versus the Hand and shows how brutal they can be. I also have a love for the final fight between Matt and Fisk, specifically because I love the moment right before it when Matt stands on the flip truck in his full Daredevil suit.
You were right. What you told me over the radio that night. Not everyone deserves a happy ending.
I very much enjoy the fights between Matt and Frank in season 2 because you can feel the anger that stems from their ideological differences. Frank also gets his own incredibly bloody hallway fight that visually illustrates, using the show's language of hallways, that he is not the same as Matt. He is a killer. In In Season 3, I love Matt's clashes with Dex, as it shows off both men's very specific training and abilities. You also get that beautiful visual of Matt in his black suit fighting Dex in a ripoff of his red suit. Matt created something bigger than himself and now has to literally fight off the representation of the bad that can come of that symbol. There's a great sequence in the day with Matt and Nadim trying to make it to the courthouse that offers visuals and a dynamic we don't really get to see in the show besides this sequence. The last one I want to talk about is the triple threat between Matt, Fisk, and Dex. This is what I'm going to call a GSA, a Garrett Service announcement. Put more triple threats in things, okay? They're one of my favorite wrestling match types, and if you can make them make sense in a story, it adds so much juice and tension when you have three people that want to tear each other apart. It then culminates into the beautiful Matt and Fisk moment we discussed earlier. My hat, or in this case, black mask, is off to the entire stunt crew and the actors that learned this choreography, because these sequences stick with us because there is such a raw intensity to all of them, and they are so grounded in the character work that the show has set up thus far. Early on in the series, Matt speaks with Father Lantom and talks about how his grandmother said that the Murdoch boys got the devil in them. There's a mean streak to Jack and Matt Murdoch that only gets out through their fists. The Fisk men had a similar penchant for violence, but had no remorse for who they hurt with it, even their loved ones. This show is about what the battle between good and evil really is. It's not something that's just black and white. Matt uses violence to combat violence. He soaks in anger and despair. He gives himself over to it. He comes so close to killing because it's the next step in the violent cycle that he's trapped in. But what breaks this cycle? Well, it's hope. It's love. It's friendship. And realizing that you are not alone in whatever you're fighting against. Karen and Foggy ground Matt and pull him out of the darkness. Nadim sacrifices himself so that other people have a chance to save the day. Ben Urich sticks to his story and his morals because it'll help others, even at the cost of his own life. Yes, Matt uses his fists to solve many of his problems. But he also uses his mind and the law to fix things. He uses his heart to guide his decisions. He doesn't kill Fisk. He won't give up on Elektra. He'll save Frank Castle. He'll give Hell's Kitchen a symbol that will give them peace at night. Matt doesn't lose his soul in his battle. He doesn't compromise himself. He doesn't hide from who he is. He embraces both parts of himself. By doing so, he becomes a man without fear. So now, we eagerly await Cox's and D'Onofrio's next appearances in the MCU. Will Matt show up in the red suit? Heck, will he show up in the yellow suit? Could we see them pop up together in a Spider-Man movie? Honestly, I don't know, and I don't really want to speculate to death. I'm dying to see more from them, but I'll still have this show that will always mean so much to me that I can go back to and revisit whenever I want. So, if you haven't seen this series, go watch it. And if you have watched it, maybe give it a rewatch or dive into some Daredevil comics. This is a great time to be a fan of Old Hornhead as we celebrate and look forward to his future. Thank you so much for watching. You can expect more Garrettscape videos right here on Geekscape. In addition to that, you can also get a bunch of different pop culture videos that drop all the time here on the Geekscape YouTube channel from a litany of different Geekscape collaborators. If you want to see those videos early, you can actually check them out on the Geekscape Patreon, so go look at how to sign up for that. A thank you to my amazing editor, Jack Watson. And speaking of Jack Watson, you can hear him co-host our podcast, Masters of the Media, on the Geekscape Network. We'd love to have you listen and join our community. I have been not just a guy, the guy, Garrett Briones, and I will see you all on the Garrettscape.